What's going on, guys? Welcome back. On this episode, we're going to fab up our own coilover struts, do the VT brake upgrade and the early Commodore, subframe detail, smooth bay, you name it, you got it. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so back on the VK CALAIS build. The next step for this build is to get it back on all fours. To do that, firstly, we're gonna put some body chutes under the car, wire wheel it, make that all prettied up. Then we're gonna give the suspension, the front end anyway, a full revamp. We're gonna do brake upgrade on the front, coilover struts, bushes, rubbers, you name it. We're gonna get that done, including sandblasting, painting all the suspension parts. Let's get into it. Special treat for you guys today. I'm gonna basically give you a rundown on how to do the coilover strut conversion yourself. I've always been a bit like, you know, how do you do it? How do you do it? And there isn't any videos out there, so I thought I'd do one for you. I'll take you through it, show you how easy it is. What's going on, boss? Beautiful. Look at the Mr. Mas. 3%. Look at him. Alright, so first up, guys, I'm going to go over a few things before we get into this front end. Now, we're going to do a few changes to the standard VK front end. Even though this is like a V8 K-frame and whatever, we're going to change it. So, what I got the customer to get me is a V8, a VS or VN subframe, right? And why we did that is we got a VN power steering rack, right? Now the difference is, why we did this is, if you have a look here, look at the difference in the power steering head. Now what that's gonna make is, when we go to put the extractors and get the extractors made, that's gonna give us 10 times more clearance, because some of you would have already known that the clearance and getting extractors in and out of these early Commodores is next to impossible. So we're gonna try and make that as easy as we can. And I think, to be honest with you, to do this type of conversion, it's not really that much expensive. It's probably like $300 to get the rack, to get the subframe. And when you're pulling extractors in and out, that $300, you forget about it real quick, trust me. With this subframe, we're gonna run the standard arms. I'm gonna do a VT hub adapter from Castlemaine's. I'll put a link to that. And then yeah, all new links and everything, and VT calipers as well. so as you can see, I've just been wire wheeling, pressure washing all the suspension components. I was initially gonna blast them, but once I cleaned them, honestly, they were that good that they just need a little wire wheel, a little sand, and they'd be killer ready for paint. So boom, that's all done. Let's slap them in some 2K eggshell black. And when I say eggshell, it's just like a satin, semi-gloss black, nice. Yeah, boom, let's get into it. All right, quick tip. So sometimes some parts are a little bit dicky to wire wheel and just difficult, whatever, doesn't matter what the thing may be. What I like to do, bit of gum wash, bit of scotchy, go over it. It just, you know, for a suspension component that you're pretty much gonna take back to bare metal before paint anyway, it's not gonna harm it, you know what I mean? And it gets all the grit and grime off because the gun wash is just like a really strong thinner. So, boom, there you go. All right, now while the subframe and arms are drying in the background, I'll give you guys a run through of how you do the coilover front on a VK, VL, VH, whatever. I think even VN, VR, VS, all the same. Like you've seen, I picked up these coilovers from Wheel and Tire Kingdom. I will throw a link maybe in the description or on the video if I can figure out how to do that. You guys can go buy the same ones and do exactly what I'm doing. Now, I'll show you what you get in the kit. You got your tools, instructions, some bolts. We'll be getting new bolts because I don't like these. You get your coilover. Beautiful. Fitting instructions. Second coilover, and bracing plates. All right, so on the coilover, this screws on the bottom, right? I'll show you. This screws onto here. Now with these struts, you want to measure from this lip 20 mil or 25 mil, cut it. This then sleeves over and you run a nice bead along here. Let's get to it. All right, now that the strut's cut off, this is what we're left with. Now we're gonna run the grinder around this face and around this edge here, the best we can, just to clean up the steel. We're gonna deburr this a little bit and give it a little bit of a taper because it's actually like a press fit. Now, if you don't have a press, you can still get it on, that's fine. just taper the edge, and that'll get it started. And then now our sleeves sit over there. Sit on there. All right. Now because we've tapered this edge, it's going to give it something to start on. And also running the flap disc around here, it's probably taken a couple of thou off. Now I think it's like 1 or 2 thou is the difference between contact fit and a different fit. I don't know the wording for it, but it makes a big difference. So we're going to sit them on there, and then what you're going to do, put this in a vise. If you don't have a press, if you have a press, that's great. Press it on. If you don't have a press, put this in the vise, sit this on here the best you can, sit a piece of wood on the top and give it a whack. All right, now that these sleeves are on, we're ready to weld. Now, a few of you are gonna think, how do you know if it's straight or not? Now, when they're a contact fit like that and you have that 20 mil, 25 inch, whatever you leave on there, it's gonna press in and it's gonna square itself up. All right, and there is a little bit of adjustment in them. So if you're 1 or 2 thou out here, it's not gonna really affect too much. All right, now when we weld this, the reason I cleaned this up is you want the surface prep area the best you can. All right, because this is a pretty crucial suspension part. So you want to turn the welder up, make sure you get good penetration, clean the surface area up, and away you go. I'll show you how. Also, I'm gonna MIG this. You can TIG this, you can do whatever. Matter of fact, you could probably even arc weld this. If you're confident enough with an arc welder, I don't see what the problem would be. So it doesn't have to be TIGged, whatever, you know. MIG and TIG preferably are a bit better, but I think you get away with it. Right, so just gave the welds a little bit of a ritz up with the grinder. And now we gotta go put some stiffener plates in. Now they supply these with the coilover kit. They just sit in here. I guess they figure it's gonna take a little bit more stress because it's a stiffer ride, so they give you these. So I'm just gonna weld them in place now. All right, that's a wrap. They're all welded up. Now I'm gonna give them a little bit of a clean up with the grinder. Go through the process we went through with the subframe, give them some primer, hit them with the eggshell, and then we'll screw the struts in. And that's how you do it, it's done. Alright, so we got our front struts here all painted up now. The coilover, I don't know what you're going to call that, but it's all welded together, come up mint. So I'll show you how easy it is. Now you've got your coilover, boom, wind it in. Now obviously you're going to have to adjust these to the height you want and everything, but done. Coilover conversion on a VK, VL, early Commodore. That's how easy it is. All right, so now I've got the VT calipers here. I picked up today from the wreckers. Gonna dismantle these, pull them apart, clean them, clean the nuts and bolts, paint all the parts, put them back together. Let's go. done with the brakes, the struts. We've got the rack here, so new rack ends is a must. Got them here, Auto Pro supply me these bad boys. Time to get onto the bay. Now previously, I've already done all the welding, fabrication, smoothed this bay. It's a VK Commodore. Put the coolant overflow bottle in this skirt, Astra pump on the other side, notched the cross member to fit the FG thermo fan, welded up all the holes. I've just got to weld up the accelerator cable hole and then I'll re-drill it for the aftermarket Aeroflow cable. Apart from that, I think everything's been plugged up except for the heater hoses, because we're going to run the heater hoses still in this car. But yeah, so hopefully tomorrow we can chuck all the suspension parts in and get it together for you guys. Quick tip, one thing I like to do every time I do a bay or anything like this, it might be wrong, it might be right, it's what I like to do. If you want to do something different, that's cool. But everywhere I've welded a hole or there's a weld, I like to put a coat of fiberglass filler before I put any standard body filler on top. I just figure that if there is a tiny pinhole or something that's missed or any water seeps through, if it seeps through onto the bog, it's going to lift eventually, it's going to cause an issue. When if you put fiberglass down first, you know, it's just a safety precaution. So guys, that's a wrap with the filler work on the bay. I haven't talked much about it, but basically what I do, fiberglass filler first over the welds. I like to do that. I think it seals it up. It's going to make it a bit stronger. If there's any pinholes, it's going to stop that tiny bit of water coming in under the paintwork. Then I hit it with the, what is it called? Easy Sand, I believe. Standard filler. I like using that one. It's nice, good to sand. Get that from the body shop, and then go over all the fine edges in the cracks and the difficult areas with the dolphin glaze, because it's sort of a self-leveling filler that sits in the gaps, sits in the corners nicely, because that is the hardest thing, just getting your fingers and just fucking going through around all the edges. It kills you. I haven't got any fingerprints left, to be honest with you. And then yeah, so a lot of it, 80 grit orbital pads, orbital shaping the filler. Some of you are going to be like, whoa, what are you doing? That's dodgy. Give a fuck, right? On the body, yeah, don't do that on the outside of the car. But an engine bay, you get away with it any day of the week. Then basically I've got some 3M, whatever this is called. I like using this paper. I've switched to this recently. It's pretty good, doesn't get clogged up. I hit it with the 40 grit and then the 120, and that's it, because I'm just gonna coat the bay now with some Epitech, seal it up, we'll fit the front end up, and then yeah, we'll go forward. All right, time to get dirty. It's time to make the underneath of the car look like brand new again. So what I'm gonna do, wire wheel all under the guards, under the body, get it done. There's no real substitute for hard work on this one. It's a shit job. You're not gonna get away from it. So just glasses on, put some clothes on. You don't mind getting dirty and just get into it. Boom, see how it's done. Alright, so now that all the wire wheeling's done, thank fuck for that, I'm getting ready to spray some stone guard on it. Now this is what I got. It's pretty good stuff, right? Again, got it from the body shop. Alright, so before we get started, I got a delivery from Castlemaine's today, the front hub adapters for the VT to VZ calipers and brakes, so let's have a look. so we're up to the VT brake conversion. As you've seen, got these conversion hubs from Castlemaine. I'll put a link. Comes with the bearings. We're going to grease those bearings up, grease in the hubs, grease in the, where are they? Hold on a minute. Grease in the caps. One thing you got to remember, and don't forget, when you're pulling your old assembly apart, don't throw out these washers that sit on the face, because you're going to need them still. Let's get into it. Right guys, so we finished up the brakes in the car. They're looking killer. That's all ready to go. Next, basically, is just to plumb up the car. I'll do that in an up and coming episode. Don't have time this week. I've run out of time. It's like deep on a Friday afternoon and I've got to skedaddle. But if you're in the middle of this and you need to figure out how to do the soft line that runs from the caliper to the factory mount on the chassis, if you look up Power Brakes in Windsor Gardens, right? They're here in South Australia, but they'd ship anywhere. Give them a buzz. They sell a pair of flexi lines to go from the VT calipers to the standard early Commodore location, so you can pick them up. I think they're like 160 for the pair or something, but yeah, that's where you get that from. But coilovers are in, subframes together. Yeah, couldn't be happier. It looks killer. It's all nice. All the stone guards done, and you know, you can see how to do it yourself at home. I think on an up and coming episode, I'm gonna start listing all the products that I use, like everything. Doesn't matter if it's primer, stone guard, nuts and bolts, fucking rack ends, you name it. Just so if you see something on the channel that you want, boom, you know where to get it. You know what I mean? Because I hate that when you're watching something and you're just like, I want to do that, but where the fuck do I go looking for it? But yeah, hopefully that answers some of your questions with this sort of conversion stuff. If you've got any other questions, comment down below. I appreciate all the support I got in the last video, the love. Keep it up.